Oh my god, it's time has begun. Come lose the flames going out, guys. Time's getting all fucky. We have to hurry. We gotta finish this lecture quick so we can make the final decision of what happens to the world. So back before I was really interrupted by this time vortex memory hole, we're talking about Miyazaki again, or Burger King here. He is promoted. He's crowned president of From Software by the guy who bought it out, bought the stocks, and he crowns him as the king. So Miyazaki is a man of integrity and a man of creative vision. Like, From Software, Dark Souls is a money maker. You could be pumping out these fucking sequels like it's fucking nothing. Like, dude, look at fucking anime. Bro, they launch sequel after sequel after sequel. Fucking, how many Naruto Storm games are there? They'll milk that franchise until it's fucking dead, till powder is coming out of that tip, bro. But Miyazaki goes, as president, I wanted to make a president. 6? Holy fuck. Okay, as president, I want to make a precedent of how I want this company to run. We are going to do one more Dark Souls game. And this is going to be the final Dark Souls game. It's like a final hurrah for the franchise. And after that, I only want new IPs. I don't fuck with sequels. I don't fuck with repetition. I want to view. I want a whole new, like, greener pasture for video games, right? So in my company, we're making new titles. And that's why after Dark Souls 3, what do you get? You get Bloodborne. You get Sekiro. You get Elden Ring. All new worlds, all new IPs. Dude, Sekiro's the weirdest fucking game ever, bro. With the most intense combat ever. It's experimental. It's fucking... I think I Game of the Year. Everything this motherfucker touches gets Game of the fucking Year, bro. But I digress. He makes one final promise, but I will. Before I close the curtains on Dark Souls, we'll go out with a bang. We'll have one more game. And that game is Dark Souls 3. And literally, Dark Souls 3, bro, there's not much story to Dark Souls 3. Ding, 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 ding. The fire's going out again, right? The fire's going out again. This is like the 10th billion fucking time this happens. So we need a new person to link the flame. So the game takes place in this place called Lothric, right? And Lothric is this cool kingdom, and they have... They basically have a candidate to be, you know, the maker of the flame. Basically the next Link. The Lord of Cinder. Right? But they refuse. The current potential person who could be Lord of Cinder says, no, I'm not doing that shit. I refuse. So, in a last-ditch effort to find a Lord of Cinder, they ring the bell, ding, 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 and they wake all these people up. So, there has been not one, not two, 3 ages. It's been like hella ages. 3 cycles. So, 3 previous Lords of Cinder, you know, they wake up in their coffin, right? And they're like, please, old Lords of Cinder, come back and relight the flame. And they all say, fuck all that, except for one dude who decides to come back. Right? So, they ring the bells again, and the Ashen Ones come. And Ashen One, and he's not undead, right? He's not human. He's like this weird new homunculus creature, right? The Ashen Undead is a person who tried to light the flame in a previous age and failed. They're loser failures who can't get nothing done. But they're in such dire need of a new person to link the flame, to relight it, that they call in the rejects in order to fill in that gap. And that's your character. Your character is tasked to basically, you're like a repo guy, right? You're going after all the Lords of Cinder who decide to fucking skip out on the job and do their own thing. Mostly because half of them are crazy. That's also a big factor, is they're also fucking insane. Alright? So, the people you gotta repo, there's 4 people. One of them came back. There's 5 Lords of Cinder. One came back. Before them, you gotta repo. Hey, bro, you gotta get back. Get back in that fire, boy. Get back in that fire. One of them is the Abyss Watchers. So the Abyss Watchers, they're like, Artorias, the guy I talked about before. They're like his fan club. Like the Legends of Artorias is so amazingly based and kingly. They're like, bro, I want to be Artorias. So these people basically kind of form an organization called the Abyss Watchers. People who go after places inflicted with the Abyss and destroy it. Essentially, like if there's one siding of the Abyss, they fucking destroy a whole kingdom, bro. We fuck up the whole kingdom. I'll kill everyone there, bro. Fuck it, we can't let the Abyss get by. And they all have a hive mind. Like they drink the wolf's blood. And by drinking the wolf's blood, it made them candidates to be Lords of Cinder. Right? You need like a certain criteria, which is never fully explained, but they met the requirement by drinking the wolf juice, right? And they're like a hive mind. They know what each other are doing, and they're connected. They almost have one soul, right? But when they wake up, they're crazy because they're corrupted by the Abyss, right? They're fucked up. They see the Abyss in each other, so they are forever locked in internal combat with each other. All they're doing is killing each other. They die, they come back, they look around, and they kill each other again because they see that the Abyss is in each one of those members, right? So they're too fucking insane to come back to be Lords of Cinder, so you gotta be there to repo their asses. And they're hella cool. It's like the first cool boss fight in the whole game. The Abyss Watchers are fucking sick. So the second guy, his name is Aldridge, right? Aldridge, he was like a cool like pope dude. He's like a saint. He's like like a little like preacher. But he had a problem. He had one problem. He fucking ate people, dude. He was a horrible cannibal who was just no, eat the fuck out of anybody. And eventually, he eats people so much, he gets so fucking big, chunk, is fat, he becomes a fucking blob monster. And he starts wanting to eat guys and shit. So when he comes back from being a Lord of Cinder, instead of doing his duty, he fucks off to go eat somebody. He eats Gwyn's son, Gwendolyn. He teams up with this guy named Pontus Solomon, who've been wanting to take over New Orlando. He's like a totally new character. He wants to take over this realm. So he teams up with Aldridge, fucks up all the Dark Moon guards, and basically Aldridge gets to eat that fucking twink. Eat that little Twinkie snack. Because I didn't mention this, but this is relevant now because we're talking about Gwendolyn and the kids. Basically, Gwendolyn, he was born of the moon. He has moon powers. He has the power of illusions, right? And because of that, that is viewed as very feminine. So he was raised as a female. Raised as a cute little twink.
You didn't have 3 daughters. You had 2 daughters and a femboy son.
One son, one femboy, and one daughter. But Aldridge is eating the twink. And he's physically turning into him. He has his fucking upper body. His lower body's like slime. His lower body's slime because that's Aldridge. And the upper body is just being controlled by Aldridge. Right? And that's the guy you fight. Fucking sick. Aldridge also is haunted by a dream. The dream of the deep. The dream of a deep ocean. Like a different type of age that could happen. It is the fucking dream of the deep, of a deep sea. And no one knows what the fuck that means. But that's what he's driven by. And he has a cult called the Deacons of the Deep. Those people fucking worship Aldridge like a fucking god. Yeah? Aldridge or the Deacons?
The Deacons.
They're just fat priests.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're guarding his grave. So, that's him and Pontus Solomon. That's what he's up to. And then finally, we have the Twin Princes. Probably my favorite. Probably the most fleshed out of all the Lords of Cinder. So basically, the Lorien royal family right? They're kind of connected with Gwyn, but not really. They're not direct descendants, but they're like a royal family. And they want to make a candidate, a perfect Lord Ascender, right? And they kind of put this expectations on their two sons, the two princes. The first prince, he's like a Giga Chat. Like I think his name's Lothric. Lothric is like, he has his fucking badass sword. He fought the demon prince, whoever that guy is, killed him, and his sword is forever flamed. It's like melted and forever flamed with demon fucking powers. It's sick, right? And he's strong, he's capable, and he's like hella tall and handsome. But the problem is, for some reason, he's not qualified. He doesn't meet the qualifications to be a Lord Ascender, right? And that duty was pushed onto the younger brother, the younger twin, named Lorien. So Lorien is a sickly fuck. This dude can't even fucking get up, dude. He's good at magic, but he's sickly. He was so sickly that he was given a platinum sword as his birthright. He could never even pick it up and wield it because he was that weakly and sickly. But he was taught by a man that we do not know. He was apprenticed by a man we do not know. But this guy instilled in Lorien that the Age of Fire is bullshit. You know the shit I was talking about, how the Age of Fire is like fucking bullshit and it's a grift? He teaches that to Lorien, right? And then slowly Lorien grows up and he sees this horrible shit of like the fire and the cycle and the Age of Darkness. And what ends up happening is his family wants the perfect vessel for the Lord Ascender. So they do an unspeakable act that's never really fully explained. But what I think is they wanted to make both of them capable to be the Lord Ascender. So what they did is they did an unholy fusion of their souls, permanently crippling the older brother. The older brother, Lothric, he is now a crippled mute. He can't walk, he crawls everywhere. He's still stupid strong, but he can't talk. Right? He's almost lame, but he did that for his little brother. But his little brother is perfectly conscious. He's perfectly normal. But for basically what they did to his brother, what he did for like society, and like just how bad it is to perpetuate the flame, Lorien and Lothric, the twin princes, refused to light the fire. They refused to be a Lord Ascender. Fuck you, we're staying here, we're gonna watch this world burn out into darkness, right? And you have to be over there to fucking, boom, you bust into their fucking bedroom. Listen, little bro, you're coming home with me. I'm the repo man. I'm gonna need your ass. I'm gonna need your soul. That shit's kindling to me, right? And that's Dark Souls 3. That's it. You just go around, you repo all these guys, you gather up their souls, and bam, you're ready to make the decision. But there's a couple cool things in this game that I'll talk to. We finally meet the firstborn son of Gwyn, right? The god of war himself. The Giga Chads of Giga Chads. And we don't even get his name. He's called the Nameless King. So basically, you know how I talked about like the war of the dragons Gwyn had? His greatest warrior was his son, right? The Nameless King. And he was able to wield lightning just like Gwendolyn, because that lightning is like a holy thing. Like it's really hard to like be able to use lightning. But he was able to use it, and he was like one of the best ones. He's the god of war. But he did a cardinal sin and befriended a dragon. He befriended the dragons, and he saw the plight of the dragons. So because of that, he was expunged from history. And this was down from the very first game. For the very first game, all his statues are shattered. You don't see a statue of the Nameless King ever in the first game. They're either missing or broken. The Sunlight Altar, where you can basically be a cool dude to help people through invasions and stuff like that, or help people through bosses. The fucking Covenant of Sunlight, the statue of it, it's broken. You just see a weapon and like a shattered statue. You're like, huh, who is this? Who is the firstborn son of Gwyn? Right? And we finally meet him in Dark Souls 3. And he's in this fucking secret palace called the Dragon Keep, or the Dragon Sanctum, something like that. And you basically go up there and you fight him, and it's like it's one of the best boss fights of all time. It's based, Hassan Piker still has not been able to beat the Nameless King. Alright? Like, this guy is tough. He invented the delayed attack. The delayed attack everyone complains about in Elden Ring was made by this dude. Right? This dude would go. And then fuck you up. And fuck up your whole day. Yeah, that's the Nameless King. He's a secret boss. You have to do a very special thing. And there's actually 3 endings in Dark Souls 3. Right? So basically, you have the normal ending. You have to fight the Lord of Cinder. And it's one of the coolest boss fights of all time. Because the Lord of Cinder is not just any old boss fight. It's the main character from the first game. You see 4 different types of builds that people have. Like a dex build with a fucking curved sword, a magic build, like a lance build, and a fucking classic sword build. Right? You fucking fight this dude who's the culmination of all the last Firekeepers or Lords of Cinder. Right? And there's this part, second phase, bro, he gets wind powers. And you hear Wind's theme. It's like...
Piano.
Yeah, dude, the piano kicks in. It's like peak. It's literally peak gaming. It's fucking sick. Right? And once you kick that guy's ass, you have an option here. So basically, there's a hidden area. So you meet the Twin Prince's dad. Right? His name is Osiris, and the dude's a fucking dragon man. Right? He went mad. Right? Because he fucked with Seath the Scaleless and tried to study him and tried to study dragons. Probably for another vessel in order to make a better Lord of Cinder, because his 2 sons are losers who can't be Lords of Cinder. So he has like a baby with him. It's a fucking dude. It's bizarre. So he's like a fucking dragon man with like a cane, and he's holding an invisible baby. You hear the crying, and he's talking. He's talking to it. It's called Ocelot. He's like, Ocelot, you're gonna be a fucking great little dragon, my little Ocelot, right? And then, like, halfway through the fight, he gets so angry that you're beating him. He's like, Ocelot! And he throws the baby on the ground, bro. He fucking BAM! And the baby starts crying. He stops crying, and then he like goes, and he starts going crazy on you. So you fucking kill this dumbass, and for some reason, you're able to strike the back of the keep he's in. And you know how I talk about, times convoluted, the flames going out, times are wonky? You go back in time! You go back in time again, but like way back in time to like another age, like a beginning of a new age, a beginning of a new Lord of Cinder. So the first boss you fight is this guy named Gundyr, right? And Gundyr, he's just like, right? And you have to pull out a sword, and then you kill him, and then that's how you light the first bonfire in Dark Souls 3. You realize that he's an Ashen One, and he had the capability of being a Lord of Cinder. This dude's strong as fuck. You see him in his prime, bro. He's called Champion Gundyr, and he's fucking like... He's able to do all these fucking crazy karate moves, but the Firekeeper that would have made him be able to fucking relight the flame was dead. There was no Firekeeper, so he was there too early, so he had to stay there for like near the end, like 1,000 years, right? Which is why he's so weak, and why he's the first boss when you start the game. So after you beat his ass, you get an item, a very special item. It's called the First Firekeeper's Eyes. So Firekeepers are disposable, like, trash bags, right? If one dies, they'll just get another one, right? And all Firekeepers are blind. You lose your sight when you become a Firekeeper, right? So the bad bitch, honestly, the Firekeeper in Dark Souls 3 is a bad bitch. Like, oh my god, she's a bad bitch. But she doesn't have sight. But when you receive the eyes of the First Firekeeper, it gives you the ability to usher in the Age of Darkness. Because she can extinguish the flame naturally for kind of like a gentle darkness. Not like a fucked up, horrible darkness, but like a gentle one. So she like holds it in and then it goes out, right? And that's the, walking away. And it's a special requirement. You gotta go back in time and get the eyeballs. But the third one's really weird. The third one's called the Lord of Hollows ending. The Lord of Hollows ending. So there's this church, the Church of Hollows. So like, Hollows have been in the world for a fucking long time. Like, the undead curse, that's like an everyday thing now. Like, oh, Dominic, are you hollow? I guess you're a hollow dude, right? It's just a normal thing. And you need ways to deal with that, and you kind of like build a kind of like group, organization, government in order to kind of police that. Because there's some hollow people who pretend they're not hollow just to kill other hollows to get clout. Right? Hollows are still looked down upon. So these people form the Hollow Church, and it's founded by 3 sisters. Right? The eldest one goes missing. We don't know where the fuck she is. The middle one is the one that's important, right? So essentially, you can become the Lord of Hollows. And you gotta do a bunch of weird things. You gotta do a quest line. You gotta get married, yeah?
Oh no.
Okay, just stressing me out. You gotta do all this shit. But essentially, yeah.
So this is still like back in the past?
No, you can just walk back. It's just an area. It's just an area in the game. But yeah, you don't gotta. I don't think you have to go back to the past. I think all you need to do is you need to get married. You need to die a bunch of times. You need to become a hollow because you're an ashen one. You have to become a hollow by basically dying a bunch of times over and over again. Then you become a hollow. And after that, you're able to get the hollow ending, the hollow lord. So basically, it's kind of like kindling the flame, because in this one, it's really subtle. Because in the first game, when you kindle the flame, you walk into the kiln, the whole bitch lights up. And the kiln of the first flame is huge. It's like a football arena, right? You light that bitch up, it's huge. But in Dark Souls 3, you light it, and you just sit down, and it's the weakest ass flame. So you only bought like 20 more minutes of like Age of Fire, right? So lighting the flame is frowned upon. But in this one, you take the flame, and you put it inside your body, right? And you just go, ah! And you're suffering, you're like struggling with the flame, and it's like implied. And then you like get like an army of hollows, and you're doing like this badass walk, right? And essentially, you're taking the first flame to fuel your Dark Soul. You're using this like the Age of Fire to fucking be the like ultimate gamer evil lord, right? And that's the Lord of Hollows. And for the final section, we're gonna do the DLC, because the DLC is actually sick. The DLC is actually twisted, bro. It's the best DLC I ever played. But first, we gotta go through the worst DLC I ever played, which is the Ashes in Ariendo. It's literally one level. So you remember that painting I was talking about? Right, the painting when people ran away. So there was this like fet addict, this fucking decrepit loser. His name is Gale, right? Slave Knight Gale. He's a fucking bum slave. He's literally just some dude, and he's just like, oh, bro. So he's near the church where Aldridge is. He's like, yo, bro. Yo, this place needs fire, bro. I know you will kindle, bro. Bro, touch this rotten paper. Touch this rotten paper. And you say yes, you touch the rotten paper. You get sucked in, right? This painting. And again, you get isekai. It's a whole new world, a whole new area. But it's really shitty. There's only one good boss there. And it's a fucking waste of like $20. But you do get a good boss fight. So it may be worth it. And the lore. So essentially, Ariendo is fucked. It's rotting away. There's like this disease. Like the painting itself is rotting, right? There's like the crow. There's like crow people before, and now those crow people have pus and like sludge, and they're like dragging. They're no joke, dude. There's some fucking fecal imagery. They're literally dragging a shit sack behind them, and they're just walking in one place. Right? And you meet the elder sister of the Hollow Church. She ran here, right? And she's there, and she's like, you gotta leave, Ashen One. You gotta skedaddle. You don't belong here. Alright? Yeah, it's like, yo, what's up, man? Get out! Like, literally. And it's like, why does she want me to leave? And then you hear, there's like a little girl with long-ass fucking hair. Right? And she's like carving wood with her fingernail. And she's like, I want to paint a new world. I want to paint. But I need to see fire to paint something. So what it turns out is you need to inspire this chick to paint a new world by creating fire. But fire is banned. You can't have fire in the painting, or all the rot is going to go away. Basically, this whole world's going to go up in flames if there's fire. Like, you gotta go bye-bye to this world. Yes.
Just a little question. So this is supposed to be the same painting from Dark Souls 1?
Yes.
Like a piece of that?
Yes.
Is what's her name still there?
She is gone.
She's just gone? Okay.
Yeah. Some people think she got eaten by an Aldridge. Some people think she is disguised as a different character. It is not known. People, again, I have to clarify this. all of this is interpretation.
Okay.
There is no capital T truth in Dark Souls. A lot of it, it's like the adventure books that Miyazaki used to play. You really have to like interpret the information you get and make a narrative for yourself. So again, all this is subject to fucking like change and bullshit. Like people have spent their whole people have been having their careers dissecting this lore to try to make the perfect interpretation of it. But yeah, it's super nuanced. It's all up to you at the end of the day. But Priscilla's just not there in Eleando anymore. She's gone. It's just Frida. That's the elder sister name. Her name is Frida, and she doesn't want this pain to go away. Because if there's fire, we lose the old world. But the old world's already fucked. It's rotting away. There's pestilence everywhere. This thing is already dead. So you might as well clear it and start anew. So you go up to Sister Frida, and you're gonna try to light a fire. Burn this bitch down. Burn this bitch down. Light a fire. And then you're stopped by her, and she's actually a ashened one. She's like you. She's a failed champion, and she is the hardest boss fight. And me personally, she's the hardest boss I ever fought in a From Software game, other than the Elden Ring fucking final boss. That shit was bullshit. She has 3 health bars, bro, and she has one of the most bullshit movesets in the entire world. And it becomes a duo fight because there's a father there. The father's kind of like the mayor, Ariendo, but he's like a simp. He's like, yes, Master Frida. Yes, Master Frida. So you have to fight them both, and then after they both die, she is revived because she's an ashen one. She gets revived like how you get revived by fire, right? So it's like, holy shit, she really is an ashen one like me, right? But of course she beat her ass again. And fire is introduced to Ariendo. And you see the little girl, and now she's surrounded by fucking fire. She's just looking around. She's like, this is fine. She's like, yeah, now that I know fire, this is great. Now I need paint. I need dark paint to make my new world. And what's the dark paint she's talking about? So we're going on to the next DLC, The Ring City. Probably one of the best DLCs From Software has ever made. It's a huge area. The lore is crazy, and we get the ultimate Patches lore. Alright, the ultimate Patches lore is here. So Patches in this game, he has a different title every game. In this game, he's Patches the Unbroken. Right? So the Ring City is kind of like super far in the future. Everyone's a hollow, everyone's a fucking loser, right? And you see a guy, man, one of the only NPCs who hasn't lost their mind, and they're trying to remember who they are and how they did things, right? And you have to do a bunch of shit. You have to do a bunch of cryptic shit. You literally have to use like the mimic. Basically every game, there's like a mimic crown you can put on your head, and you become like a pot. But one of them, you become a humanity sprite. And you have to go up to this big ass pillar after doing this quest for this nice guy who's been helping you out throughout the whole DLC. And it kind of like rejuvenates that dude's humanity. And slowly he starts remembering, right? So again, he tries to ask you for a favor. He's like, hey man, can you like go over here? I really need you to go over here. And he kicks you down! And the one dude who has survived the end of time, essentially, is fucking Patches. The Unbroken. Every NPC, they went mad, they went hollow, they got belted, they got killed. Patches remains alive and is still himself, right? He is Patches. He literally makes it his goal to be so mentally strong that the environment around him cannot affect him, right? Which is why he's one of the only people still alive in the Ring City. Because the Ring City is like, again, in the future. In the future. So what ends up happening is he assists you with one more boss fight. And it's sick, dude. It's fucking sick, bro. right? And that's like the best Patches lore we get. It's like this whole little quest line, a little love letter to Patches, because again, he's in almost every game.
I'm still gonna
Always a
sound-
trickster, always kicking you down holes. What a guy! And the sheer fact that a guy like that, that is his love, that is his passion, and that is his purpose, is to troll people, is to fuck with people, right? And living that purpose makes him invincible, right? It could be the smallest thing, but if you believe in the purpose and meaning in it, you are unbroken. Which is like a huge theme throughout the whole game. That stops you from being hollow. That stops you from like giving up on your goals. You become a hollow bitch when you believe like all the shit. Yes?
And being mentally strong is gonna stab me throat every time I see him.
Yeah, you can stop Mark.
Okay.
Like, that doesn't stop bullets. That doesn't stop this fucking. That doesn't stop this sword. But you're at the final boss, right? So you're making it past the Ring City. And you see a woman, a girl with an egg, and she's like holding onto it, right? And we don't know who the fuck this is. She's called Lady something, Lady Larry Farrah, Lady Farrah, some chick's name. But people think with a lowercase t, that's Gwyn's daughter. That's one of Gwyn's famous daughters. And she was in charge, because the Ring City is a prison. Right? It was rewarded for all the valiant efforts of the humans for winning the war, for helping them win the war with the dragons. But it's actually a way to subjugate them and keep them locked in this city. And the one guarding and holding this whole thing together is this daughter of Gwyn. So she's holding on to this egg, and it's based on Angel's Egg. This anime movie that me and Dominic watched this one time and we almost fell asleep to. But it's actually fucking incredible. So she's holding onto this egg, and this egg is like faith that we can hold this all together. Right? But once you wake her up, the egg shatters. Because like the Ring City is kind of stuck in this weird time loop, this weird time. Like it's like negated from time because of this spell that this person keeps up. But once you poke her, time progresses so far where the last of humanity, the last of you're literally at the end of time. Everything's just a fucking vast desert, and there's only one other dude left. Slave Knight Gale. The guy who gave you the painting, the guy who's been guiding you throughout this whole DLC, he's the last guy on Earth. So what you guys are actually doing when you kill these bosses, when you kill these humans, get those humanity sprites, you are rebuilding the Dark Soul. You know how the Dark Soul was fucking shattered years ago? And like it's in every human? Now that every human dies, the Dark Soul will be reformed. And half of it's in you, and the other half is in Gale. Right? So basically you gotta beat his ass. Right? Because he's Slave Knight Gale, and he went mad. He's fucking cuckoo for Cocoa Puff. But he's such a... He basically works for that girl who paints. Right? He's called Uncle Gale to her. And he just wants her to be happy, to be able to paint a new, gentler world. So he decides to go in this quest. And Gale's a nobody. He's like you. He's like the player. He's just like a nobody, strength-filled, going through the game. Right? But he's so dedicated to his purpose for his lady that he goes through the ends of the earth to meet you for the ultimate final. This is like the final boss. This is like Dark Souls 3 is literally a festival of everything throughout all the games. 1, 2, fucking all that shit. This is a final hurrah to all that. And it's with this guy, Slave Knight Gale, and you rebuilding the Dark Souls from the beginning. Right? You kill Gale. It's a fucking 2-phase, 3-phase boss fight. It's fucking sick. You kill him, and you get the Dark Soul. You get the trademark Dark Soul. You get the trademark Dark Soul. And after that, you give it to the girl, and she's like, "This is the perfect paint for me to make my new world. A dark world, cold world, but a gentle world, like how the world was supposed to be at the beginning. If Gwyn never relit that shit, if he didn't commit the first sin, if he didn't try to keep this age up. And this is a bigger meta-narrative for the game series. This shit has to end. I'm putting a close to Dark Souls, right? And it's gonna go out with a bang, and then quietly we're closing up shop for new, greener pastures. It's incredible. Like, it's all linked together. And like, to the player, to Miyazaki, to his series, like everything. All of this like narrative links to the gameplay, which links to the player experience. Right? It's fucking incredible. And that's the end of Dark Souls 3. There's no final boss. After you beat Gale, there's no ending cutscene. All you do, you give her the paint. That's the game. That's the DLC. You're done. And that's the end of Dark Souls series. Trademark. And it's a fucking masterpiece. It has a meta-narrative. It has a regular good meta-narrative. It affects you because this sense, like, the experience he wants to give to the players has been done. Like, all he wants to do is make people want to interpret the story like he interprets stories when he was a young kid, right? How he felt accomplished doing something, he wants to give that sense of accomplishment to everybody. And he does that through difficult game design that force you to overcome impossible odds and feeling the pure rush and satisfaction, right? And Dark Souls and Demon Souls are the trademark of that experience, right? And it's fucking perfect. And Miyazaki, like, motherfucker Shakespeare, like, dude, this guy makes a banger every time. Every time. He's like, again, Shakespeare, he was making bangers after bangers after bangers. This dude, like, fucking Hemingway, banger after banger. It's fucking crazy how cracked this dude is. And all he does, and he comes up with a new concept every time, bro. What about this shit, but, Japan? What about this shit, but, in London? And that shit is always fire.
Anywhere but London.
Always fire. So Bloodborne happens. Actually, Bloodborne came out before Dark Souls 3. Which is a fun fact. It's a weird kind of like thing to think about. Bloodborne's also great. Look up videos. Look at fucking Smorktown, Vati Vidya, any lore challenge you get. It's so worth going to Bloodborne and going through the lore.
So Bloodborne and Elden Ring are connected to Dark Souls?
Yeah. Totally new world, totally new world, totally new world. There's no like fucking Miyazaki verse. As much as people want it to be, it's just not connected. Thank Christ. You start fresh every time. And every time it's a fucking banger. So finally, we can go on to the big one, my personal favorite From Software game, right behind Sekiro. Sekiro is actually my favorite From Software game, but Elden Ring is the game. This game is fucking something else. And the lore is amazing, in my opinion. So if we start off, it's a brand new fucking world. Age of nothing, all that good stuff. But bro, we're in the age of fucking dragons? We're in the age of fucking dragons? Yeah, we up. You know, dragons are up. So essentially, the way the world works is like there's like a command console. It's called the Elden Ring. And the Elden Ring is essentially the rules for life. The rules of the dimension. Right? Like, let's say, like, you can, like, remove something from the Elden Ring, and that shit would be gone. Right? In reality. So let's say, like, bro, I don't like this time thing. Get that shit out of here. If there's, like, a time room, you can remove that, and time won't move. Right? There's all kind of like, it's a command console of how the world works, but only a god can wield the command console. And the god can only appear where there's a champion, an elden lord. You need a pair. It's a pair. You need a lord and you need a god. That's the only way you can have the power of the Elden Ring at your hands. And the Elden Ring does not discriminate. The Elden Ring can be, you can be an Elden Lord by just being a strong motherfucker, right? One of the first Elden Lords from the primeval age, or the medieval age, was a dragon. was a dragon named Palfadusax. Palfadusax was Elden Lord, and he was a fucking dragon. Yeah, is it good? I should we're still recording. Gotta make sure I don't wanna.
That's fine.
Alright, we're good. So yeah, you need an Elden Lord in order. You need a god and an Elden Lord. So there's the Age of the Dragons, and that came to an end due to a violent confrontation that we would not learn till later, right? And then it was the Age of the Crucible. So the Crucible is like an age where like life was like this mass. It's like a mass of like random traits. So basically, it was like a holy thing to be touched by the Crucible. So you walk in, bro, you got like goat horns. Bro, you got like hooves. Like you got different aspects of life in this hodgepodge. Yes.
Like some kind of like primordial goop.
Yes, it's described as a soup. A primordial soup. Right? So you dip in and you get different aspects of the Crucible. You know those guys, those crazy knights who like grow tails and fucking sort of like have frog breath? Those are people of the Crucible. Those are Crucible knights. They worship this age, and this age had a long effect. This shit took a while until someone rolled up. Yes. Oh yeah. Dang it. Fucking James. Fucking James. We gotta go back to the round table. We gotta go to the lands between guys. Down a bit. For some reason, this one's a little louder. Alright, it should work. So the Age of the Crucible rolls around, and there's go people and shit. And then a woman comes to the lands between. The lands between is, of course, the current continent where the game takes place. She is a alien. She is not from this land. She's from somewhere else, right? So she rolls up to the lands between, and she's gonna be like, "Oh, I want to rule shit. You know, I'm gonna be a god." She's called Marika. She's like the first person who kind of starts the new age of the Erg Trio, the Golden Order. So Marika gets with the strongest warrior around. This fucking beast, this fucking gamer chat. Like, Godfrey is the greatest warrior. And he wasn't originally called Godfrey. He was a little, you know in like Fire Emblem 3 Houses? Where Nemesis is like, that dude's just a bandit? Like a bandit who gets the sword of the creator? That's Godfrey. He's literally just a random brigand who's so strong that Marika's like, "You're my Elden Lord." Right? And they create this dynasty. They create the Age of the Erg Tree, right? And this shit is filled with conquest and fucking people over. But in order to get through the story of Elden Ring, we're going to have to talk about all of these people. This whole family line we got to talk about. Because it's very important for what ends up later. Sirs, we already talked about Marika. Marika is an alien from the lands between. She's known as a Newman. She's a Newman. And they're like tall, like women.
Not the Albinos?
No. Those are called cripples. And artificial humans. That's what an Albinor is. And they're not really important. So Marika rolls up with Godfrey. They have children. Alright? They get the best son ever. His name is Godwyn the Golden. He's literally perfect. He's like the perfect child, dude. Gold blonde hair, hella strong, bro's compassionate, and he's a diplomat. Dragons, they're still fucking around. Although their Elden Lord's gone, we don't know what happened to him. Well, we do, but that's later on. He's kind of like sucked out of time. So, they're still dragons, and they're sentient. Dragons are sentient, and they think and they feel, and they can also like turn human and shit. Right? So, they're fighting with Marika and the Golden Order, but Godwyn is just such a charismatic dude. He managed to make peace with the dragons, and he gives dragon magic to his followers. That's how you get the dragon cult incantations. You get that because of Godwyn. The diplomat, the politician, the perfect dude. That's Godwyn, bro. Firstborn. right? And they have 2 more children. But these children are disgusting, ugly freaks, all right? They're fucking freaks. They are these things called omens. And the omens look like the people from the Crucible. They have curved horns. They're kind of like, they're kind of like little, they look kind of like evil, like demonish. They have curved horns. They have ill blood. Their blood can cause, their blood is literally fire and pus. Like, they're dangerous, right? And omens, they got a bad lot in life. The Golden Order, you can be a part of the Golden Order if you look the part, if you act the part. Yes?
So, is this during the age of the Earth Tree?
Yeah, this is all during the age. This is just setting up. This is when all the family rolls up during the age of the Earth Tree. So omens are discriminated, right? If you're a baby omen, what they do is when you're born and they see your horns, yeah.
So how come they were born like that?
That's later on, but there's a reason. But it's almost like fate. It's like they're cursed, right? It's like fate cursed you to be disgusting, right? So if you're a baby omen and you're a peasant, they try to chop off your horns when you're just a child, and most of them die from that process. This is really brutal. But if you're lucky and you're you're a royal omen, they're more merciful. Instead of cutting off your horns and killing you, what they do is they kick you down a sewer, and they just don't deal with you at all, right? So both Mog and Morgoth are stuck in the sewer, right? And they're super powerful. They're powerful dudes, but they're chained up, locked in this sewer, right? And that's the line of Godfrey and America. So, after Godfrey defeated his last foe, they fight dragons, they fight giants, they fight storm drakes, everything. After the final opponent falls from Godfrey, essentially, God exists. God is called the Greater Will, right? And that's the person who kind of elected America to be a god, right? And God is so far away. He's out of the dimension, right? So what happens is God sends a message from these things called the 2 fingers, right? And this is all Earth Tree shit. Because the 2 fingers are the fundamental aspects of how people communicate with the Great Lord, with the Great Other, the Great One, right? So basically they see the fingers twitching, and this is communication. So someone known as a finger reader would look at that and they're like, the Greater Will wants us to do this. Yes?
Could you describe the 2 fingers?
They're literally 2 fingers outside. It's they're kind of like worms. You don't see the palm. You only see 2 indentations coming out.
Like a slug or a snail?
It's literally imagine there's this big hole, whatever, and there's just 2 fingers popping out.
Like a diggle?
Kind of.
Kind of, yeah. And this is how God communicates with people, and this is how everyone works their lives out, is by listening to the 2 fingers. And you also have this so what America does, essentially, is death does not exist. Because she didn't like this whole death shit, right? So the rune of death is literally removed out of the Elden Ring, the command console of life. So people don't die, right? Sure, let's say I stab you in the head and you're fucking dead, right? You don't die. Your soul goes back to the herb tree, and you are recycled, right? And your soul is reborn, right? There is no death in the Last Between, yes.
Are they reborn as the same person or what?
Different. I'm pretty sure they were reborn as different things. But that soul is still around, right? So what ends up happening is, the rune of death and all that. But Godfrey becomes graceless. So grace is kind of like the Greater Will speaking within you. It's kind of like this golden beam you see, you just see it in the air, and it's God or the Greater Will guiding you in what to do next, right? He loses that, and his army loses the guidance of grace, which is a sign from God that I don't want you anymore. I'm done with you. You don't belong here. So Godfrey and his entire army become tarnished, right? They don't have the guidance of grace. They're tarnished individuals. It's the cool name in this game. And they're kicked. They're literally booted out of the lands between. Get the fuck out of here. You're tarnished. God doesn't want anything to do with you, so they become exiled. So they go through this event called the Long March. What is the Long March? I do not know. It is just called the Long March, but I assume it's a very traumatizing event for all of Godfrey and his army. So they leave the lands between and go back to whatever homeland they go to. Right? And this is your player character. This is what happened to your player character. Is he became a tarnish, and then he had to go back to his old lands.
He traveled the Trail of Tears.
It's basically the Trail of Tears. Right? It was harsh. So America is single. Is she ready to mingle? But there's also another dude. His name is Radagon. And Radagon is like one of the strongest dudes. He's like Erdtree man. Like he's the Erdtree guy. He's like the greatest warrior right behind Godfrey. Right? And there's moon people and star people. So basically, in the land between, again, like I said, there's a bunch of kingdoms, and there's a bunch of people they had to subjugate. One of the people they could not subjugate were the magic people, or the people of Lea Lucaria, which is basically Hogwarts people. They study magic. So stars are like this kind of outer being, right? And there's this thing called glintstones, and glintstones are crystallized stars from the past, right? And you can use that as a power. And that transfer of information gives you a glintstone spell of a pebble or a comet. That's how magic works. So those people study the stars in order to understand more spells and go to like the glintstone current. It's like a current of information that they try to understand in order to enact these spells. And these spells are strong as fuck. These spells fuck you up, bro. And the royal family, who are basically the monarchs of Lea Lucaria, are the Carians, right? And Renala is the queen. Like, she's like the girl. And she doesn't just use stars, she worships the moon. And the moon gives you tons of power, right? So Renala, she's like one of the first astrologers. She was like a little girl looking at the stars. One of the first inventors of glintstone magic. She is the girl, bro. She's hella strong. So a war with the Carian royal family and all the people of Hogwarts would be fucking brutal, right? But Radagon beats her on the battlefield, and he falls in love with her. She's such a bad bitch, and he's such a fucking stud, like handsome dude. They fall in love, right? And the Carians come into the Golden Order not by might, but through marriage, right? And they have 3 kids, if you don't count the DLC. This person is named $14.99 for you.